Hold on to purity at all costs. The world's quietest room is at Orfield Labs in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a chamber built with double walls of concrete and insulated steel covered by 3.3-foot thick acoustic fiberglass wedges. It's said that a person can hear his or her own heart beating, gurgling stomach, and even pulsing inner ear. Most people can't take the silence for more than 30 minutes.
I know, but I didn't spill on the computer.
Our lives are filled with noise, and we're often comfortable with that. But busy, noisy lives can keep us from hearing the truth of what's inside of us. Greed, selfishness, lust, and a host of other things are hiding in our hearts. When we recognize the dual threat of both the internal and the external, we see the gravity of God's call to live pure lives. It's not just a call to purity in terms of our actions, but in our every being. It's a call for absolute agreement in our thoughts, feelings, and actions. So, what are the dividing lines between pure and impure in today's world?
I think somebody would describe somebody pure being like wealthy, like they know a lot of things, like wise. And then impure is like not as wealthy, like maybe somebody homeless or something, when like really the greatest prize in the world is knowing God and going to heaven. So
Very good. Anybody else?
I think we tend to kind of build off what Michaela said. We tend to judge the book by its cover. So a lot of times you would consider somebody that's pure as somebody that's clean and has a decent home and a good living, and where more of the impure would be the homeless guy sleeping on the street corner, or the person sleeping in their car, or single mom with 3 kids living in the projects.
Jesus called us to engage in the fight for purity at any cost. Jesus told us to root out the source of impurity. His vivid illustrations involved, let me go to that verse, hold on, because I'm trying to reference 2 different things. If your right eye causes you to sin, this is Matthew 5:29. Gouge it out and throw it away, for it is better that you lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. Verse 30, and if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. Hold on. Jesus taught that true purity isn't just a matter of abstaining from sinful sex. It's a condition of the heart that must be corrected. He called us to engage in the fight for purity at any cost. He gave us a battle plan for pursuing that kind of purity. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my other one. Hold on. The word pure means free from anything of a different, inferior, or contaminating kind. The thoughts and behavior of the people of God need to be pure. Think about the best kind of jewelry, pure gold. Think about a bottle of water. You wouldn't want it if it wasn't pure, right? So, Ricky, would you like to drink some water? Can y'all see this?
You just look a little cloudy, right?
So, Jesus, this is backwash. It's not really.
Oh.
So if somebody offered you some water, you were really, really thirsty, would you drink this?
It's just like salty water. So if I was like actually dying, I guess.
You would drink something that somebody backwashed in, Michaela?
Oh, wait, no. I forgot about that part. No, never mind. I'd be like, I'll go to a river. I'll go to the lake.
What is that?
I thought it just had cheese.
You want your water to be pure, to be clear, right? Unless it's flavored like orange or something. You wouldn't want chunks of food in it.
Stop, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell a story. Just be quiet, Hannah Noel.
I
Hannah was
asked you not to tell you.
Hannah was about 2 years old. We were living in North Carolina at the time, but we had visited Maryland, and we were on our way back to North Carolina. We stopped at a Denny's, and we were eating breakfast, and I guess Hannah was thirsty and wanted a taste of Ricky's orange juice. Well, Ricky let her have a taste. When she handed him back the cup, that orange juice had so much chewed up bacon in it. It was so nasty.
What is that?
So Ricky was like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. It's gross. So he wouldn't drink. To this day, he won't let Hannah drink after him.
And I'm 20 years old.
Hannah's 20, and it's nasty. So you want pure things. Like, since I've been eating healthier, I've started buying, the chicken I buy is the natural, that doesn't have filled with any antibiotics or something. Just because, to me, I'm just trying to eat healthier. It doesn't have hormones pumped in it and all this other stuff in it. So we want what's pure, right? We like pure things. I mean, if you had a cookie and you were on a picnic, if it fell into a pile of dog poo, I would like to hope you wouldn't pick it up and eat it. Or hot dogs. I'm not a big fan of hot dogs anyway. Ricky and I aren't. So when I buy hot dogs, I buy Hebrew National.
Pure.
And I tell people they have no chicken butts, no chicken lips. So I know what's in that hot dog. I know exactly, it's pure. Or you wouldn't go to McDonald's if they said part horse meat, part kangaroo meat, part cow. You want 100% beef, right? You want it pure.
Doesn't even have to be that bad. Think about it. If you're eating a cheeseburger from McDonald's and all of a sudden you find one stray hair sticking out of the
God,
side of the
That bothers me so
yes.
much.
not only do you not finish the cheeseburger that you've already eaten half of,
Uh-huh.
but you seriously feel like relieving yourself of the half you've already ate.
Yeah,
I mean, just the thought of it. I mean,
just the thought of it, right?
you're talking about drastic steps of impurity, but
Yeah.
like
Even little things.
just a little thing of impurity.
Well, let me tell you, Drake is like that. Drake is OCD, for those of you who don't know, and y'all think I joke about it. I'm really not kidding. And if y'all have never seen the show Monk, watch the show, because that is my son. He's like Monk. He has extreme OCD. His food cannot touch at all. And like, he has to use different utensils
Oh, yes.
for different things. And it's so annoying. So even that little thing, I mean, it's minor, but to him it's sick, it's nasty, it's impure. But oh my gosh, I hope he grows out of it, because I'm gonna kill him.
Doesn't even like any like drinking after him.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't do that. People don't drink after him. He won't drink after somebody else. If you want your water to be pure, then you should want your life to be pure. Matthew 5:8, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. To the pure, all things are pure, but to those who are defiled and unbelieving, nothing is pure, but even in their mind and conscience are defiled. How do you stay pure? And this is in Leviticus 8:15. Moses killed it, the bull. Then he took the blood and put some on the horns of the altar all around with his finger and purified the altar. And he poured the blood at the base of the altar and consecrated it to make atonement for it. So what we need is a massive bull to kill and cover each of us with blood, right? No, Jesus has paid the price. He was the sacrifice to end all sacrifices. So what do we need to do now? In the Old Testament, a cleansing agent was required: water, blood, or fire. We are under the New Testament, which is the new and better covenant that Jesus gave us. The sacrifice of Christ brings purification. His blood cleanses us from sin. So can somebody look up 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 21 and 22?
What was it? 2 Timothy?
2, 21 through 22. This is literally
I
me.
can do it. I can do it.
Oh, is that you, Reagan?
No. I'm kidding. It is. I didn't hear what you said though.
2 Timothy chapter 2, 21 and 22.
21 and 22.
Yes, Ray.
Okay. Those who cleanse themselves from the latter will be instruments for special purposes, made holy, useful for the master, and prepared to do any good work. Flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart.
Thank you. Now Titus 1:15.
Yes, Meredith, there's a book in the Bible called Titus. It's sad when the pastor's child wonders about that.
She sounds like her.
She asked me Friday where Matthew was. I'm like, Meredith, sweet girl.
Okay, Titus 1 verse
I got it
15.
if you want me to read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Everything is pure to those whose hearts are pure, but nothing is pure to those who are corrupt and unbelieving, because their minds and consciences are corrupted.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, we're going to be looking up a lot. So Matthew 5:8. Who wants that one?
I'll get it.
Thank you. What is that one? No, I'm looking at it now.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God.
Thank you.
I should have just known that one.
1 Timothy 1:5. Oh, y'all are going to get some Bible references in today.
See, I would read it. I just don't like big words.
That's
Wait, what did
okay.
you say, 1 Timothy?
1 verse 5.
I understand, Michaela.
The purpose of my instruction is that all believers would be filled with love that comes from a pure heart, a clear conscience, and a genuine faith.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hebrews 9:14. Hebrews 9:14. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Acts, Romans,
What is it, Mama?
Hebrews 9:14. Galatians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy.
Where's 14?
Where
What?
is this?
Hebrews is in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I'm in there.
Matthew,
Hebrews
Mark,
is in the New
Luke.
Mark, Luke, John, Acts,
It's New
Romans,
Testament.
I said no.
You said old.
Did I say old? I
You
sorry.
did.
It's in the new.
Oh, yeah, it's in the
I forgive Ricky.
I'm still on
You say-
time out.
Hebrews 9.
14.
9.
Did I say 14? Now y'all are making me
9:14.
Yes, it was
quiet.
14.
Thanks. This is why I need y'all. Where are
How
we?
much? How much more than we will? I can't read it, Mama. Go ahead.
How
Did
much
Michaela
more
want to
then
read?
will the blood of Christ, who through the external spirit of furred him, unblemished God, cleanse our consciousness with the acts of led to death, so that we may serve the living God.
Thank you. All right. We're still in the New Testament. James 4:8.
Oh, I love it.
Hebrews, James. James is after Hebrews, right? Yes.
Yeah, Hebrews
James
10.
might be my favorite book of the Bible.
I love James. I wish you could see it. It's all colored and written.
I
It
can
is-
read this one, Mom.
It's probably my favorite book of the Bible, James.
Did you do the Francis Chan James study? Oh, that's my favorite.
Mommy, I can read this one.
Thank you. Go for it.
Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded.
Thank you. And one more for right now. First Peter 1:22.
1:22.
Yeah, Michaela, you got this one. It's after James.
Is it like just flip the page and then you'll see First Peter?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, hold on. Let me get there. I'm not there. Okay, go ahead.
All right. You have made yourselves pure by obeying the truth. So you have an honest and true loving for each other. So love one another deeply from your hearts.
Love it. Thank you.
Mhm.
The Old Testament was for our learning. In the New Testament, our cleansing is done when we are buried or immersed in a watery baptism. He who believes and is baptized will be saved, but he who does not believe will be condemned. Mark 16:16. How can a young person stay on the path of purity? Okay, we're going to go to the Old Testament, the book of Psalms, 119.
What?
Verse 9.
Oh, I flipped right to it.
Go ahead then.
How can a young person stay on the path of purity? By living according to the word.
Thank you, ma'am.
You'll know Psalms 119 is the exact center of the Bible.
Is it?
Yep.
Okay. 3 areas of purity. Are y'all ready? There's a bunch of verses coming up. Pure deeds. Luke. Let's go back to the New Testament. Luke.
Matthew, Mark, Luke. All right.
Chapter 6. Verse 46. Three areas of purity.
Luke 6:46.
Yes, sir.
I can read it.
Okay.
Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and still don't you do what I say?
Okay.
Or
First
still don't
John.
do what I say.
Yep. 1 John 5:3.
Where's John? What?
5 verse 3.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
It's 1 John.
Oh.
Yeah. The one near Revelation.
Mhm. I can do this one, Mom.
Okay.
In fact, this is love for God, to keep his commands, and his commands are not burdensome.
Burdensome. Very good. All right. James. Chapter 1. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
James, what?
Chapter
James.
1. It's after
James what?
Hebrew. James, no, where am I? Yeah, James chapter 1, 21 through 25.
Oh, I like this verse.
Wait a minute, I'm not there. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Y'all want me to read it? I'll read this. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent and humbly, accept the word planted in you, which can save you. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Oh, am I done? No. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like a man who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But the man who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues to do this, not forgetting what he has heard, but doing it, he will be blessed in what he does. Pure words. Number 2, pure words. 1 Peter 2:1.
What?
1 Peter
2:1.
2:9, is that what you said?
2 verse 1. Number 1.
Therefore, rid yourselves of all malice and all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, slander of every kind.
Wait a minute.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm in the wrong thing. Ignore me. Yes, I got it. I was in 2 Peter. Leave me alone. Thank you, Chris. Matthew, chapter 12. Verses 34 through 37.
Well, our fingers are getting exercised today.
Yes, we're going to know this New Testament by heart. All right, I'll read this one. You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. The good man brings good things out of the good stored up in him, and the evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in him. Wait a minute. Hold on. But I tell you that men will have to give account on the day of judgment for every careless word they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned. Pure thoughts. Matthew 5:8. Didn't we do that one?
Yes, we did. Chris read it.
Well, we're gonna.
Yeah.
What was it again? Here, I'm
Let's
here.
read the pure.
Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here we go. First Chronicles 28, verse 9.
That is in the Old Testament.
First Chronicles
First Chronicles what, Mom?
28, verse 9.
I'm there.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
What is it?
First Chronicles 28, verse 9. Wait a minute.
I've never been in Chronicles.
I'm sure you have.
Wait, I accidentally flipped to Genesis and I just saw somebody lived 430 years. Like, what?
Methuselah was the oldest person in the Bible. Okay, Hannah, do you want to read that? Or you
Sure.
want me to do it?
No, I can't. There's no big words.
Oh my goodness,
And
Hannah.
and you, my son Solomon, acknowledge the God of your father and serve him with wholehearted devotion and with a willing mind, for the Lord searches every heart and understands every desire and every thought. If you seek him, he will be found by you, but if you forsake him, he will reject you forever.
Thank you.
That's the verse.
All right, Proverbs
What
4.
Proverbs?
Proverbs
After
what?
Psalms, chapter 4, verse 23.
Proverbs is my favorite of Psalms. My book is covered in that.
Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life.
Amen.
I
Thank
love
you.
that verse.
Many believe their thoughts do not matter, so as long as they do not actually practice evil deeds. But pure thoughts are essential to a pure life because our thoughts determine what we say and do. Pure thoughts lead to pure words and pure deeds. Your thoughts are important. So what is easier, work out or play the Wii?
Play the
All right.
Wii.
Okay.
Work out.
What is easier, eat pizza or salad?
Pizza. Pineapple.
Salad.
Yeah.
Yes, pineapple pizza.
What is easier, clean your room or disobey your parents?
Oh,
I like a clean room, but
I'm
it's
sorry, I
easier
can't
just
hear
to
you.
sit. I like a clean room, but it's easier just to sit around watching Disney Plus.
You
Mhm.
like your room clean? You go,
Yeah.
girl. What's easier, to walk out of the movie or just go along with your friends?
Walk out.
That's easier?
But no, it's easier to go along with your friends.
Often the hard thing is the best thing for your future. Mr. Purity, Joseph. In the Old Testament, Joseph is an example of purity. He had pure thoughts. When Potiphar's wife made sexual advances toward Joseph, he refused. I think it would have been almost impossible for Joseph as a young man in his prime to say no to temptation without his love for God. With the extreme focus on sex and love in our culture, the same is true for us. The fact is that it is harder for us today. Don't beat yourself up about it. Remember that God's forgiveness is total. You need not to live in guilt over your sins once you repent and ask forgiveness of both God and anyone else impacted by your sin. Develop a spring cleaning mentality when it comes to things in your home that promote impurity or glamorize immorality. Begin to throw away anything you would not want in your home if you knew that Jesus was coming to visit. In what room will you begin your cleaning? Who tells you how to dress? What is the best way to get someone to do something?
Just
Got a
day and age to
question?
bribe
Yeah,
them.
you can answer it. What is the best way to get someone to do something?
Bribe them with money in this day and age. Like,
Yeah, that's how I have to get my kids to do things.
No, I just tell Reagan I'll buy her Taco Bell.
Oh, that's bribing with
Still same
food.
thing.
see, I say, Catherine, I'll pay you like 10 cents, and she does it. I was like, okay.
10
cheap.
cents.
And then actually sometimes I'm like, never mind, I'll just do it.
You need to make them believe that they made up their own minds to do it. So the same happens to you. You think you make up your mind about things, but then why are you and your friends wearing the same clothes? Why do you like the same movies and music? Someone is making up your mind for you, because one day you will look back and get embarrassed about what you were wearing today. A decision you were so sure about is suddenly embarrassing. If your choices are based on what you are told in TV and by friends, you may just make the wrong choice. But if they are based on a standard to live up to and God's principles, then you will never go wrong. We read umpteen zillion verses just now talking about being pure and how God wants us to be pure. So I think he's pretty serious about it. You may still make bad fashion choices, but life is much more serious than clothes. And I hope that you become someone who buys gold while you are young and in the future find yourself in a much greater place. Purity takes planning. Purity doesn't just happen, and the heat of the moment is not the time to decide what your boundaries are. Somebody look up Proverbs 14, verse 15.
I'm already in Proverbs. What was it?
14, verse 15.
I got it. The simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought.
Uh-huh.
Prudent,
True.
prudent, but the
Uh-huh.
prudent give thought to their steps.
Yep. So we got to plan. 1 Corinthians 10, 12. We're
That
back
is in the New Testament.
we're back in the new.
1 Corinthians, what, Mommy?
10, verse 12.
Oh, I like this one.
Wait a minute, I'm not there.
First Corinthians.
You ready, Mom?
I'm ready for whoever wants to read it.
I
So
can
do you
read it.
think? Go ahead,
Okay, go
Michaela.
ahead.
Oh, you. I mean. All right. So be careful when you think you are standing firm. You might fall.
Thank you.
Got it?
Yep.
Yes.
Lamentations. Ooh, Lamentations. How many of us go to that? Lamentations 3:40. Then the old. Joshua, Judges 3, 1 Samuel, 1 King, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalm. Where the heck is Lamentations?
After Jeremiah.
Jeremiah was a fool from
No.
Lamentations what?
3:40.
I love limitations.
3:40.
40.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord.
Yes, thank you. So those purity takes planning. Do you agree or disagree with the importance of giving thought to your steps and examining your ways? Do you
I
agree
agree.
or disagree?
I agree. I agree.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree wholeheartedly. When I do the whole True Love Waits message on with students, I
Yeah.
always talk about that you can't decide to live that out in the heat of the moment.
Right.
You have to have a planned out. You make plans ahead of time that I'm not going to be in this situation, and I'm not going to be alone with
Right.
this person, and and you guard that.
Mm-hmm. And you make that sacred to you. Absolutely. Think of a personal situation or experience you were in that you should not have been. You don't have to share it. Just think about it. Did you have a plan beforehand to prevent you from getting there?
No.
How might a plan have helped you prevent it?
I probably would have a tablet.
You probably would, if you had a plan and if you stuck to your guns as a Christian, you probably would not have been doing what you were doing.
Yeah. Like I said, I
Right?
probably would have a tablet.
According to Jesus, if our eye causes us to sin, we should gouge it out. If it's our hand, we should cut it off. Though that might sound extreme, the reason is simple. When you consider what's at stake, you'll do whatever it takes to protect your purity. When you consider that these patterns of behavior, if left unchecked, cause you to fall under God's judgment, then you will start taking them a little more seriously. Replace the temptation with something better. Don't focus on not thinking impure thoughts. Focus instead on something better. Find something constructive to do for the kingdom with your time. Fill the void left by temptation with something more, something better, and soon you won't have to invest the mental energy not to think about whatever it was that caused you to struggle. It has been replaced. We all face temptations from time to time. So I'm going to read a list of things that might be areas of temptations to y'all. Y'all just think about it. Television, relationships, isolation, possessions, popularity, the internet, control, loneliness, peer pressure, credit, power, pride. What is one step you can take this week to distance yourself from one of the temptation sources that you thought about that I just mentioned? Hold on, what is this one? God created our bodies and he gave us our human needs and desires as integral parts of those bodies. God also gave us good and right avenues to fulfill those desires. Sin happens when we seek to satisfy a God-given desire through an unholy avenue. Instead of turning to the God-given avenues of fulfilling those desires, we turn to whatever is easiest or most convenient or the least costly. Whom do you look to as a model of faithfulness?
My mom.
Oh, Jesus.
What was the question?
Whom do you look to as a model of faithfulness?
Oh, yeah, my mom.
Faithfulness and purity have been a wonder to our culture, but it should be our norm. Purity is a battle that is waged in our hearts. Jesus calls us to sexual purity both physically and mentally. It's not just a call to purity in terms of our actions, but in our every being. It's a call for absolute agreement in our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Ultimately, temptation is not about our ability to say no. It's about what we believe to be true about God. I can't see my eyes are not good today. Sorry, guys. Holding on to purity isn't always easy, but it is always valuable. What is one way you are spending your time that is not contributing to your personal purity? Look for something to replace that this week. Consider a practical way you can serve someone this week. For example, intentionally do one thing around the house for someone who does not enjoy doing that. Like if you know your mom can't stand washing dishes, then offer to wash the dishes. Or maybe help your sibling out. Begin the process of accountability by letting your guard down with someone you trust. Initiate a conversation with that person and share one way in which you are struggling to hold on to purity at all costs. You don't have to settle for the world standard of purity and faithfulness. God has something more. If you are holding on to mistakes you've made in the past, ask the Lord to reveal those to you. Ask His forgiveness if you haven't already done so. Consider journaling about any emotions you're experiencing and ask Him to help you move on and seek purity in your relationships. So that is the Bible study for today.
Very good.
So I think God wants us to be pure and have pure thoughts. And I know y'all have heard the saying before. If you constantly are listening to bad music or watching shows or movies that you shouldn't have, that's what you're going to constantly be thinking about. When you put junk in, junk comes out, right? Trash in, trash out. Have y'all heard that? So we need to guard our minds, and guard our thoughts, and guard our heart at all the time.
The whole lesson made me think of this song that he used to sing to us. Be careful, little eyes, what you hear. Be careful, little stuff. Like that. That's the song that always kept popping into my mind every time you kept saying it. You don't
Yeah,
know
my
that song.
grandmother used to sing
I'm
that.
not
Be
singing the
careful, little
song.
hands, what you do. Be careful, little feet, where you go. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. For the Father up above is looking down with love.
Be
And we
careful,
do,
little.
especially nowadays, because this world there's nothing pure. Nothing.
Mm-mm.
Nothing pure.
Well, and it's just so hard. I mean, I liked one of the statements you said there at the end that you can't, it's not a norm in our world.
It's not. Yeah.
And especially when we think about being pure as Christians, we think about abstaining from sex and we go down that road there. But purity in the Christian life is a much bigger concept than just abstaining from sex. It's guarding your hearts and minds and being careful what you allow into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Being protective of that,
Right.
That's one of the things I liked about the Bible study is, it was talking about, is it easier to go with your, it talked about being at the movies, but is it easier to go with your friends when they tell a crude joke that, you shouldn't be laughing at,
Mm-hmm.
or should you speak up and say, you know what, that's, we don't need to be telling jokes like that.
Right. Or even with gossip. I mean, that's not pure anything. We got to guard our hearts and our minds
or even language. I had one student in one of my youth ministries, super involved Christian, at church all the time, leader in the youth group, led Bible studies, prayer groups, great Christian family. He went to camp one year and God got a hold of him and turned him upside down because, of some, thoughts in his life and how he had to live differently. And I'll never forget the night that he walked down forward at the camp worship service, and everybody in our group was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe Daniel just." I mean, it was like Jesus had come back because you didn't think Daniel had anything wrong, and we got into our group devotion time, and Daniel wanted to share. He told me while we were walking out of the auditorium, he said, I want to share with the group because I know they're all wondering why I went forward. And he said, as you all know, I'm like, he was like the starting quarterback on the high school football team in a small town, popular in school, well liked, just a good kid. And he says, y'all know, you know who I am, you know what I stand for. He said, but God convicted me this week that when I'm in the locker room and all my buddies are talking about going out and getting drunk and what they're going to do on Friday nights after the game, I just said, he said, I don't go participate, but I just sit there and I don't say anything about it. And then on Monday, when I come back into the locker room, they're all talking about what they did all weekend. He said, I don't speak up about what I did. He said, God convicted me this week that I was committing sin in my life because I wasn't standing up to impurity on Friday night and then speaking out of impurity on Monday about what he had spent his weekend doing. Well, amazingly, when Daniel started living a different life, by the end of that fall, most of the Harrisonville High School football team was coming to our youth group.
Oh, wow.
Because one kid said, you know what, I'm going to live things a little differently than I currently am. It's crazy. And I'll never, every time I think about a lesson on purity and living it out in your life, I think about him and I think, wow, what a difference one person can make.
We can. Absolutely. Yep. And we need to be bold and we need to not sit back and just be silent. I mean, we don't have to condemn or judge, but in our actions, we can say, hey guys, this isn't right to talk about this. And like Scott was saying.
And he found out that when one person spoke up, there were others in the room willing to speak up.
Yeah.
It just took one person being brave enough to be different than everybody else in the room.
And that's like what you just said, being different, because we all, a lot of us, especially, I know what I did when I was younger and Ricky did. We wanted to fit in. We didn't want people to think we were weird or not cool. But, but if y'all aren't going to sit here and drink backwash drink, put that in your bodies. I know it's disgusting, isn't it, Michaela?
Yes.
Why would you put impure thoughts and other things into your body and mind? So this lesson really spoke to me too. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. All right. Prayer request time. Y'all know what time